Hi, welcome to the Three English Experts. I'm Dave.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Birgit.
And welcome to this episode.
Three English Experts is your English podcast to help you speak better English and create a positive and happy mindset for your English learning journey.
Hello, everybody. We're back again with a new episode of our podcast. And this time we're going to talk about a series on television you can watch in order to help improve your English. And yes, Rebecca is going to tell something general about how to choose, how to pick one of the many you might have or you might not have, depending on what programs you subscribe to. Yeah,
exactly. So I think first of all, question is series or film. So when you're looking for something to watch, people say, should I watch a film? Should I watch a series? So first of all, I would say watch, first of all, what you like to watch. If you're a film junkie and you enjoy films, go with films. If you prefer series, it should always be something that you enjoy and that you like. I think the benefit today we're talking about series is series are shorter. Normally, like one episode is anything between 30 minutes and 1 hour. So it's less time invest. Of course, you can break down a film into two parts, but generally, I think that's quite nice that you've got these smaller chunks that you can watch. And also the benefit of series, I would say, is you get to know the characters. So by episode 2, episode 3, you go, this is this person, you know a little bit about the story, you know kind of where the thing is going. And so and the vocabulary is probably repeated because we're talking about the same topic, the same people, the same places. So it's not all new every time. If you watch a new film every time, it's a completely different topic, maybe different people. So I think just this continuation of a series can be quite helpful when you're learning a language or not. And, you can watch a couple of episodes, and if you don't like it, okay, you're out. And I think, Biggie, you wanted to say about trailers, right?
Yes, that's what I thought before. Obviously, today we were going to talk about that. What's a good tip? And I did that to look at some trailers to see what the language is like, because honestly, I don't very often watch series in English, but I have recommendations. Interesting, isn't it? Yes, and I watched the trailers, and it's so interesting. In the trailers, you can get a grip of an idea of what to expect, how they will talk. Will it be difficult? Will it not? Can you understand? And the characters, it's a setting. It's either American, set in the USA, or in Britain. That gives you a good insight into the people's lives. I think that's a good idea. And the trailer is usually always there.
Yeah, and actually, I think as far as I know, definitely on Netflix, they have numerous trailers, because I've noticed they'll have trailer 1, trailer 2, so there's actually quite a bit that you can watch before committing the time, and so I think that's a really good idea. My next point, maybe Dave, you can comment on this. My next point was about like dialects. So I think obviously you might choose a show, something like Peaky Blinders or Game of Thrones, or I don't know, and they might have really quite difficult accents and dialects to follow. So Dave, you wanted to talk about a couple of shows where this topic comes up, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's if you go to Netflix, if people have Netflix out there, I've got 3 recommendations, and all of them sort of involve accents or dialects in some way or form. And I think this is just a great way to get yourself familiar with the different dialects and accents that there are in the English speaking world. And if we remember back to our time of learning English or German, you just never had that possibility that you have today, not in the same way. So I would highly recommend it. I've got 3 recommendations. Maybe I can just shoot you my first one. The first one is Gentleman. It's on Netflix. It was originally a film by Guy Ritchie, the guy who made Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. If you know the guy, he was also married to Madonna. Fun fact, for a while. But his films are great. I love them personally. It's not everybody's cup of tea. They can be quite violent and also a little bit gory, so a lot of blood in it. But in this particular context, coming back to the accents, there's a whole range of accents, and that's the beautiful thing about it. He also shows a whole range of different, as in England, we have the class system still in a way. And so you have everybody from the the South London gangster, so with a sort of the Cockney accent from London, all the way to this posh aristocratic family who own big estate in England, and other accents as well. You get all kinds of accents, the Liverpool accent, these are involved as well. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant when it comes to accents. So that would be my first tip, just on an accent perspective and dialects. It's absolutely amazing, and I'd highly recommend it. But maybe with subtitles, and that's maybe our next little topic. Subtitles, yes, no, in that language, what to do. What's your ideas, guys?
I think subtitles, to me, generally best would be English. So if you're listening in English, have the subtitles in English as well. Because then when you miss a word, or they keep saying a word and you're like, what is that word? I can't figure out what they're saying. And then you see it written and you go, okay, that's what it is. Sometimes when I say this to clients and I say, subtitles and listen, they go, oh, I can't do both at the same time. Have you heard that? Have you heard people say that?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Oh, I can't read and listen at the same time. It's very confusing. There are a lot of studies that show one of the best ways to learn languages is to use as many senses at the same time. So by listening and sort of subconsciously reading, you don't always necessarily have to be really focused on it, but it can really reinforce vocabulary, phrases. You can learn new words. I've done it in Spanish, and it's really helpful sometimes because I think, what are they saying? I can't quite get that word because they're speaking so quickly. And just having it written there, go, that's what it is. And so I would say, obviously, if you're quite advanced, you can skip the subtitles and try without. But I think from an intermediate level, it can be quite helpful. And definitely, like you say, when you've got quite tricky dialects to follow, then I would be pro subtitles. Birgit, would you agree with that?
Oh, strongly. I'm absolutely convinced that this helps. And even on upper intermediate level, because I believe you will never ever understand 100% of native talker unless you really, really, I don't know, because there will always be words. If I watch an American series, they use language I might never have heard, and that helps at any stage of the learning process. Yeah.
I mean, there's always things that I don't understand even. I don't quite catch it because it was fast. It was maybe a different accent that, yes, of course, I know most accents, but sometimes they just speak so unclearly. And with an accent or dialect, you just miss it. And often my wife says, what does that mean? I said, I didn't hear what she said. Can you rewind it a little bit,
Yeah, I think it's all about the benefit of all of this, of listening or watching a series, is tuning your ears. I always say to people, if you want to improve your listening skills, you've got to practice tuning your ears. And it really does work that the more you listen, the easier it gets. I remember I watched an Irish series with my husband, who's Irish, and called Love Hate. Brilliant series a few years ago, actually very, very violent and quite scary. But they all had really thick Dublin accents. And I really struggled for quite a while, even as a native speaker, to understand what on earth was going on. But actually, the more we watched, after a few episodes, it was no problem. And again, it's just this tuning that you get used to the sounds and the way they speak.
Yes, exactly. And that's a good example. I think that's the best you can do in order to pretend to get into a situation as if you were in the country. You asked me, had I watched anything while I was in England back then? And I can only remember that the television was on in the late afternoon, 5:30, Neighbours, a series. And that's what we want to try to get over here, learning a language. And that's, as you said, just tune in. I mean, there was no way they would provide German subtitles. It was just by listening and continuously hearing. And that's another recommendation I have. Make it a sort of experiment while you're in a learning process. Why not tell yourself, okay, let's go in the next 3 months. I'll try a series. Maybe I can follow that. It's going to be enjoyable, and make it a habit. That's what we talked about, how to make a habit and then a positive learning experience.
Yeah. And I did that learning German. People ask me, how did you improve your German? And a lot of my listening skills, definitely comprehension came from watching TV. So when I first came to Germany, there was no streaming and we didn't even have cable. We had like 3 channels or 4 channels. And so that was the only thing to watch. And I remember watching The Simpsons and it was on in German. And I was so upset because I couldn't understand. And I loved The Simpsons and I just couldn't follow. It was so quick. And I was like, oh, this is awful. How am I going to live here and not be able to watch TV? But then over time, the more and more I watched, don't even notice it's in German anymore. It's just normal. And so it does. And I didn't sit writing vocabulary down. I didn't do that. I just sat and listened. And, you know, you accept that you don't understand everything, but it does get better with practice. You just have to stick with it.
Yeah. Your brain just sort of adapts to it, doesn't it? Somehow it's strange. You just have to trust with the system, I think. Just keep being consistent, doing it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, one of my other recommendations is from Netflix is something that is not well acted out. It's more of a reality TV series. But I think from the conversation standpoint, in this, it's called Buying London. And it's basically about a real estate agent in the luxury class, so the really high flyers, the really expensive houses and flats in and around London, and this real estate agent and his firm. And so often there's really good conversations, whether it's in the company, whether it's out in the houses, or even, you know, privately in conversations. And I think this is really cool because you're just listening to the conversations. And so you get a lot of really good conversational English.
It's real dialogues.
It's real dialogues. Yeah, it could be in a business context. In this case, it could be more in the housing context, talking about houses, flats, if that is something that you're interested in. And also, of course, then privately. So private conversations. And I sat with my wife to watch this. My wife is originally from Albania. Her English is very, very good. But often there are things that she doesn't understand and she wants to improve her English. And this is one of the few things that we could sit down together and watch, because most of the things she doesn't want to watch with me. But this one, because it's about houses and flats and real estate, she wants to watch it. And she actually learned quite a lot of new phrases, words, just by sitting there and saying, what did he say? And what was that word? And we had the subtitles on in English. And then she picked up quite a lot from that. So she never writes them down like you did, Rebecca. I'm one that actually writes vocabulary down. That's my way of doing things. Everyone's different, I think. But just the listening is a great way to learn, I think.
Yep, absolutely. I have to ask Dave, when I was in Spain, so I don't know if this show is still on. I wanted to ask you, I used to watch TV in Spanish, and there was a local TV show called Canta Canta in Valencia, and it was on every night at like, I don't know, 7:00 or something. And I used to watch it with my friends before we went out drinking. And it was this like live karaoke show.
Okay.
Where they used to go to little regions of the Valencia region. They used to go to little towns every week and they'd invite people up on stage to sing.
Okay.
Is that still on? No? You've never seen Canta Canta?
I've never heard of it. No,
when we come to Valencia, I want to we're
see. We're going to check it out.
Is Canta Canta still on? Because we learned Spanish songs and we used to sing along. And it was a fun way of improving language, but just listening, watching. And they used to have the words, you see, because it was karaoke. They would have like the words would come up on TV. So that was quite cool. Okay, cool. Just wanted to ask that.
I'm afraid all I watch is in Spanish is the Liverpool games in Spanish. So you can imagine how fast they are.
Yes. Okay. Great vocabulary. Yeah. Birgit, do you have a recommendation? Anything series you like watching or?
Yes, I do. Just to have a different channel to mention Disney here. We had Netflix before. We watched The Bear, King of the Kitchen in German, I must say, but it's a brilliant series. And I saw the trailer now in English. I think it's okay with the subtitles on it. I would have thought it would be harder, more advanced, but it's not bad to understand. So I can recommend that. It's brilliant, serious. Well, we loved it. Anyway, it's about somebody cooking, coming from a family whose father ran some restaurant in a little town, and he went to become a chef in a star restaurant. So he comes back. His brother died, so he's got now the restaurant, wants to make it into a posher place, and it's very loud, it's very intense, but it's brilliant. Great actors. And then I can recommend Only Murders in the Building, something completely different, something funny, humorous, by Steve Martin with Selena Gomez and another guy, I can't remember. That's also very entertaining with the subtitles, so maybe that's worth watching. If you're looking for something more British, more typical, again, we go to Netflix, The Crown or Bridgerton. Maybe that's more for the ladies, but as we heard, the majority of our listeners are at the moment ladies, and maybe that would be a good tip. Yeah, very British, of course. The Crown, about the family, the Queen, former Queen, the royal family. Yeah.
Well, I've got one then for the ladies. Birgit, what about this? Netflix, Six Nations, Full Contact.
Wonderful.
All about rugby.
Super.
So I can say I've seen it because
I have to watch
my
it.
husband, I have to watch these things. So
I haven't seen it. Thank
Birgit,
you.
you must see it. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a brilliant insight into rugby, isn't it?
I think must is a big word, but yeah.
Netflix.
It's entertaining. You do see a lot that, you understand things a bit more, but I think if you have to be interested in rugby.
Well, you might get interested in it.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe.
If you don't know what it's about, and also from the accents perspective, because it's about the Six Nations, which is the British Isles nations, and also France and Italy, you get to hear the Irish accent, the English accent, or the various English accents, the Scottish accent, the Welsh accent. So you get to listen to all different types of accents. So even just for that, I think it's worthwhile watching.
I will have a look.
I watch it for wife. I get wife credit, you see. Okay, so.
Well, we should have done this.
I watched that with you, so now you have to watch this with me.
Okay. We should have done this episode in a different way, trying to convince each other which series to watch.
Which is I think one other point I wanted to bring up is I actually think it's good to watch something that you've already seen and you really liked and watch it in English. Because some people say, well, I watched this in German and I loved it. Game of Thrones. A lot of people say, I watched Game of Thrones, I loved it. Watch it again. Often it's fun to watch something again in the other language because you already know the story, you know what's happening. And just a whole different experience of watching it in English is actually quite helpful. It doesn't have to be something new all the time. So I know so many people who have watched Friends 10 times, and Friends is brilliant for learning English. I have to say, it's got relatively conversations, dialogues. It's fun. It's easygoing. It's short episodes, 30 minutes. And the dialogue is relatively slow. It's not this really, really quick dialogue. And so series like that you like, and you can jump in and out. You don't have to watch the whole season. You can just watch a couple of episodes. I think I did that as well in German. I watched King of Queens when I first came to Germany. It was always on TV. A nice, easygoing, funny comedy show, and really helped my German, I have to say. So it's okay to watch things, that you've already seen, just watch them again.
I think it also the different experience you said, Rebecca, I totally agree with that because of, like with a film, if you see it dubbed, so it's in German, of course you have the different German people speaking, but when you watch it in English, then you have the original actors' voices. And I think that just makes a big difference when you're watching a series or a film. Yeah,
absolutely. Although it's weird sometimes if you've only seen something in German and then you watch it in English, or the other way around, and you think, oh, they sound totally different. That sounds weird. Yeah, that happens too.
But my fun fact about learning German is, guys, I once watched, or I used to watch when I first came to Germany, Arabella to help my German.
The chat show.
So you can watch whatever you like. I mean, I think it doesn't really matter what you watch. You will improve if you watch it, and you watch it constantly. So
you could even watch a children's program. If
even watch a children's program.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Cartoons are brilliant. Absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. So that was our episode on listening skills, watching a series. Hope you enjoyed that. Next time we are going to talk about present perfect. Back to some grammar. So we have been asked to
good one, like it.
to go into sort of a deep dive into present perfect, how to use it. It is one of these things that causes so many troubles for English learners. So we're going to go do a deep dive, hopefully make things a little bit easier and give you some tips. So that's our topic for next time. Hope you will listen to us again.
Okay, looking forward to it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for pressing play today. If you have any comments, questions, or perhaps suggestions for future episodes, feel free to contact us at our website, 3englishexperts.com. Have a great day and see you next time.